Okay, so those young guns flying those falcons last week in the Falconry video, and that second day was so windy, all the gazebos blew away. And today's windy weather has really made me think, here's a video that needs talking about. Sorry about the wind noise, because a lot of you guys seem dreadfully frightened of flying your birds of all kinds in windy weather. And I'm going to tell you why that's ludicrous and why you and your birds are missing out on some extremely good fun. So we're inside out the wind, and it really is an interesting topic, and certainly with the hunting falcons, the falconers proper if you like, when it comes to the wind, goodness me, social media in season is plagued by people putting posts on, oh, this terrible weather, the terrible wind, not been out with my hawk for a week now. Well, that's just ridiculous. It's a bird. What would it be doing in the wild if it was windy, not hunting and starving to death? Of course it wouldn't. The big issues with the wind are your bird's got to be fit, it's got to have strong muscles to cope with it, and also it's got to understand the wind. If you gave a kid a little scooter, a little 50cc scooter, and they learnt to ride it, that's like a, say a 16-year-old, that's like your bird that's now flying around, coming to the glove, maybe chasing a rabbit in a straight line. It can fly, and that kid can ride a scooter or a two-wheeled thing. If you gave that kid a Honda Fireblade or a GSX 1000, it's the same principle as a scooter, but they're going to crash and die because they just don't know how to handle all that power and that manoeuvrability and that speed. And that's the same as your inexperienced, unfit bird being released up into a windy day, isn't it? But that doesn't mean either can't do the faster, harder thing and become good at it. If you're not flying your birds in the wind, you're missing out on flying time, but you're missing out on some of the best, most exciting flying your bird will do. Without a doubt, seeing your bird in the wind, flying in the wind, hunting in the wind it's another level. My favourite flying is probably in the wind. Whether it's hunting, pest control, pleasure flying, display flying, experience days, all of those different birds fly in the wind. Some are better, some it's more difficult. So let's look at some of those different things. The kids were recently flying their falcons at the Raptor Fair, and the second day was really, really windy, and they did okay. I think on the second day, one of the birds sat a bit. Kyle's bird was dynamite. Depends on the bird, it depends on the build of the bird, and it depends on the design of that bird for wind. So, I don't know. Aplamado falcon flying in high winds is very, very buoyant, but a female peregrine is in its element. And there's different birds suit it. So for experience days and displays, the worst birds are probably owls. Most owls, if they spook and turn downwind and it's really windy and exposed, open flat, they'll just blow away like a paper bag. So for me, the worst birds to fly in high winds are owls. They're very, very buoyant indeed, and they can be spooked. But for that sort of experience day and display flying, the windier the better. Yesterday we ran an eagle and vulture experience at the Falconry Centre, and it's the first one for ages of an eagle and vulture experience where we've had really windy weather. Answer to our prayers. We know, I can't speak. We know those guests are going to have just the best time ever. And see how, so whether you're flying kites, a hooded vulture, a soaring bald eagle, out of this world, masters of the wind. My bald eagle, I don't want to fly an eagle for the public, flying around and doing lovely big circuits. It looks great, an eagle flying close and going around and coming back to you. Come on. A bald eagle 200 or 300 or 400 feet up in the air, soaring above the audience and stooping and whiffling down to the glove. Nothing else like it. Seeing a falcon stooping to a lure from hundreds or thousands of feet. They spec out at about 1,800 feet and you can't see them, but 1,000 feet above you, stooping to the lure, that'll kill any display of lure flying, whatever. You see a falcon stoop vertically from height, your jaw hits the ground. Now a falcon will get height in the wind and it will get height in thermals, but we're talking about the wind. So display falconry, most of the best display birds are soaring birds, I think. A goshawk doesn't make a very good display bird, but a black kite is a phenomenal display bird, the way it works and flies. So different things for different jobs. Let's look at pest control briefly. If you're flying a Harris Hawk on rooftops to clear gulls, you want a Harris Hawk that masters the wind. It's going to catch the uplift as the wind hits those huge buildings, those huge warehouses, and soars high and can then stoop down at those gulls. Just the presence of it, if it's strong in the wind, will really put the wind at those gulls because it can get above them. Gulls on landfill sites, windy day, tree line maybe that your falcon, or hills that your falcon can get height. That falcon, that big falcon, maybe you're flying a perisaker, a jersaker, a hybrid falcon to really clear those gulls. High winds, that bird up in the wind, it is a master of its element. It holds court over all of those gulls and will scare them away. It can stoop, and if it misses, it can pull up and whoosh up in the wind and gain height really fast. Now remember, a falcon can thermal up to great height, but that thermaling falcon that stoops to ground level has got to do an awful lot of work or a slow job of getting back up to height. A big falcon in high winds, unbelievable. As long as it's fit and it knows how to operate in the wind, and that's where you come in. What else can we talk about? Pleasure flying with a Harris Hawk. You're someone that doesn't really want to hunt with a Harris Hawk, but you want to learn all those falconry skills and fly and train and work with a Harris Hawk. A Harris Hawk, even if you live in flat country like I do, walking along a woodland edge, or especially a tree line or a big hedgerow line, high winds, that bird will learn to take the updraft from the hedgerow and soar above. And there is no more thrilling way to have a Harris Hawk following on than a Harris Hawk soaring above you, not just hopping from tree to tree. Harris Hawks and red tails in the wind, just stunning, just stunning. And if you are lucky to live in hill country, those Harris Hawks and red tails can be hunted from the soar, because where you live, you'll have more opportunity for those birds to regularly use that lift, that soaring lift, and you'll have more opportunity to train them that they can hunt, and you can flush game below while they wait on above you. Yeah, I think seeing birds off the fish chasing flat out with a good lure, good leeway for the prey, that's exciting. It doesn't compare again. An eagle, a broadwing, stooping from some height at flush game, there's nothing else like it. Why is falconry the top level of all falconry? Because it's that stooping of the big falcon. It's been awe-inspiring for quite a long time now for falconers. Harris Hawk, red tail, golden eagle in the right setting, in the right place, stooping from waiting on flight. It's just nothing else like it. I wish I lived in that hill country. I don't, my legs can't take it. But for falconry, hill country, you're so lucky if you got the game. So there we are. All of these birds can fly so well in the wind, but not only that, they can put on a show that you'll have you wanting for more all the time, even if it's just your Harris Hawk following you around some countryside, not hunting. What do you need to do to give yourself confidence and the bird confidence? Number one, you need to be using telemetry. That goes without saying. But if your bird just spook, it's not fit, it turns downwind, it's going to travel a lot further than you're used to before it possibly turns around and puts up in a tree or something, before it sort of gets a grip on itself when it's a young or unfit, inexperienced bird. Telemetry, guys, you should be using it all the time. Something else, you know I'm going to say this, a bird that hoods. Because as much as a bird is fantastic flying in the wind, an unhooded bird being carried on the glove in open countryside, in howling winds, can be an absolute nightmare. The bird will get tired and stressed, and it will wind you up a tree, because its natural instinct is to just spread its wings and lift up. And if that bird's not hooded, it's going to probably do that all the time. You might be able to get away with tucking it under your coat and so on, but a hooded bird being carried in windy weather is a way better prospect for both of you. And then it comes to just flying in the wind. Use your telemetry. Know how to use telemetry, learn how to use telemetry. There's your confidence boost straight away. And then that young bird that's now used to flying, it's used to flying up and down and picking good branches in trees, it's responsive and returns well to the glove. That young bird, as the breezier days come in, start letting it fly into the wind. This is your best bet. Walk into the wind, quite close to and along a tree line, and just let the bird off and naturally go up into the wind where it's got all its control, pick branches, hover and get into those trees. Take it for a nice long walk waiting on into the tree line. Once it's understood how to land in the wind, in amongst the branches, stand away from the tree line and fly it across the wind, maybe 50 meters, 20 meters, whatever you like, and let it learn to fly to the trees and call it back to the glove. That bird, whether it's a hunting bird or a display bird, it's learning to go across the wind, turn and master the wind as it lands. And that's really important, because if you just cast that bird off downwind, it's got no control whatsoever. And that applies to hunting, no control whatsoever. So it's going to either hit the ground, nearly hit the ground, or possibly try and brake with the wind behind it as it lands into a tree. It's not going to be able to slow itself down faster than the wind, and it will hit the tree hard, and you will risk snapping off talons or worse. Believe me, I've seen this happen to other people's birds. Don't let your bird just fly, your young bird, fly straight at a tree line with a full force of the wind behind it. It's going to hurt itself. At worst, it will crash into the bushes and things. Sometimes hunting birds do that when they're chasing downwind and the prey reaches a hedgerow. They can't pull up in time, and they do chest plant into the bushes. So you've got to give them the advantage, and you've got to let that bird learn. Soaring birds, if you want to train your bird to soar, call it to the glove into the wind and so on and so forth, but start calling it into the glove a little bit more crosswind, and then put the glove behind you, stand sideways on, duck, whatever. Get that bird to fly past you because the wind's pushing it past you, and then it will learn to call it again, put your arm out, it will turn around and come up to the glove. But hopefully, after a couple of those attempts, you won't put the glove out, you'll just whistle it, it will turn around and start to come back to you, waiting on in the air. So it's all about giving the bird opportunity in a sensible setting. Don't trust the bird that it's going to know not to fly downwind. It won't to start with, it will crash. Many times people say, I can't get my falcon when I've trained it to the lure, I call it to the lure, and I can't get a pass. It just stops, it lands on the floor, it hovers around my head. When it knows what it's doing, call it downwind, give it a nice wide pass, move the lure away, it will not be able to stop. It'll fly on by, and then it'll turn around and come back in. Equally, once your falcon's wedded to the lure and you know it'll come to the shout and the thrown out lure, just put it up in the air, put the lure in your pocket and let it fly. It's not going to go anywhere. It's going to stay in that field you're in, and it's going to keep an eye on you, waiting for the lure. If you're worried, give the lure a little swing or put it out and put it back in. Just let it fly around, let it get height, let it learn how to use its wings. You've got telemetry on it. Worst comes to the worst, you're going to find it because you know how to use that telemetry. Just let the bird fly, give it a few minutes before you work it to the lure, whatever its job's going to be. For hunting, golden eagle hunting, I've had my best days in lashing rain and gale force winds when I can't stand up hardly straight on a hilltop, and that bird will still come back to the glove. And I've caught, amazingly, many of the times I've caught with that eagle has been in that kind of setting. It's all about setting up the flight correctly. Crosswind when you're hunting is best. Downwind, your bird will catch up game at any distance, but it's got no control. Remember, Zeus pulled a talon out on prey, doing just that thing that this season just gone. Goshawks, they learn quick. Bolted rabbits with goshawks, those birds will get down on the ground, belly hugging the ground, and they'll power under the wind, touching the ground all the way. You might have to, I like to give my prey a massive lure. I want it to be a proper, at least 50% chance that game's going to get away. But you might have to shorten that a little bit, because a rabbit with its feet on the ground is not going to be encumbered by the wind, anything like your goshawk is. But my goshawks would fly in any weather. Any weather. I'd go out in howling winds. Much more difficult, but you're still seeing some great flights. If you're worried about your goshawk getting carried away in the wind, well, firstly, it's not trained well enough. Secondly, use your telemetry. Harrisawks struggle much more. Harrisawks often fist in the wind. You've really got to set that up with good crosswind flights. They're a bit more like a golden eagle, off the glove, into a headwind. They're going to be slowed by the wind to quite some degree. But if you can get them up in the air, soaring above a tree line, and you can flush game while you've still got their attention, my goodness me, you'll see some flying then from your harrisawk in the wind. So really, it's just a short video. I just want to enthuse you and educate those of you that are frightened of flying in the wind. The wind is your friend. It will show you some of the best, most exciting flying you've ever seen from your birds, whether they're for pleasure or falconry. There's nothing else like it. Don't be afraid of the wind. Just teach your young bird and give it time and allow it the opportunity to learn how to work in the wind. It will become a completely different bird, and your love of the wind will be like mine. You won't think, oh, it's windy, I can't fly again. You'll think, it's windy, we're going to have some fun today, and I'm going to see some exciting flying from my bird today. Hope you've enjoyed this short video. Subscribe if you did. You know the crack. Send me some comments. If you're one of these people that generally has thought, I've missed so much flying because of the wind, comment below. Just say, tell me why and what your fear was, and go and give it a try. See you guys soon. Hope you're loving the channel. If you do, help it along. Comment here, subscribe there. But I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.